What industry secret do you know that most people don't? There are things called pilonidal abscesses at NSFW. They are large pockets of painful pus that are right at your butt crack. They hurt like a motherfucker. And when you land them open, they smell like a combination between decomposing flesh and a room full of moldy cheese. Tito for a Bartholin's abscess, very NSFW for the ladies. That is all. No one likes them. But man, it is very satisfying to make you feel better by draining them for you. Working as its support, I Google search most symptoms to find a cause and solution. Working in retail, no longer lasting stock is rotated at the back of the shelving. Working as pharma production tech, the food coloring for your medication comes from dead beetles. Working in food catering, vanilla essence comes from the castor sac, not bumhole, but next to the bumhole of a beaver. Extra OB. I used to really like vanilla, now I stay clear. Anything of your food for health reasons is bullshit. Alkali water, apple cider vinegar, yes, even with the live yeast, are both pure bullshit. I will say maybe there are certain medical issues that may involve eating foods at different pH levels for health reason. Your doctor would tell you about that. But don't buy alkali water, and especially don't be like my dumbass friend who buys it and puts a lemon wedge in it. Some appetizers are the most labor-intense items on the menu to make. For example, dumplings takes one worker about an hour to make 12-15 orders. Horan offers a plethora of appetizers options. Then there's a high chance a lot of them are store-bought and resold because there's no feasible way to prepare several orders for each item on the menu. There is a condition called a rectal prolapse, where literally rectum inverts itself externally. That result in you effectively pooping out your own poop scoot. S of getting a rectum back inside of you is to dump as much sugar as we can find on your rectum to get it to suck up any of the moisture there. And for your rectum to reduce itself back inside of you. G1 is the car dealer, I mean they are fucking you and laughing while you're smiling and happy, thinking you won but you didn't win anything but a very expensive dry fucking and laughed at by 40 people. I mean, at least at the casino I enjoy the knowing beforehand I'm leaving broke and sad, but only until next payday, not 6 years. The market for translation isn't being killed by AI because it's already dead and AI is putting it out of its misery, ulling the relationship between clients and translators and abusing their position as middlemen to drive translator pay down, mainly by using translators in developing countries whom they can pay less. Trained artist here. Most all paints are made with very toxic substances, as are most paint thinners and medians. Every single one of my teachers was either very sick cancer, Meniere's disease, or a bit crazy eating chalk, licking palettes. All incredible artists I was privileged to learn from. One lesson I learned very well: I wear gloves and sometimes a mask when I paint. It can act. As soon as there have been enough orders, the production line stops. Someone changed the boxes or bags. So different shop, different branding, different price, then the line just starts again. And when you buy fresh chicken Kievs from the supermarket, they aren't fresh, just defrosted before they sell them. All those practical effects that people love in movies are heavily touched by VFX. We fix, enhance, replace everything digitally, and neon. Set artists get the credit. My last movie had $350,000 in wig tape fixes. Fury Road, which was applauded for its practical effects, had 2,100 VFX shots in it. The first Avatar had 2,500. My slogan for VFX is "We make the rest of the movie." Worked in online community management and social media for years. Admins can read all of your PMIs. Private only means private from the masses, not from administration. We had to be able to read them to check reports of abuse, grooming, illegal activity, etc. I can't tell you how much cringeworthy shit I had to read through, especially from guys trying to hook up. Lawyers, if you are a pain in the ass client, your file goes on the bottom of the pile. If you are not a client that brings consistent money in, your file goes on the bottom of the pile. Call too much, your file goes on the bottom of the pile. Complaining, bottom of the pile. Nasty to secretary or staff, bottom of the pile, and so it goes. 94% of successful consulting is making shit up that people want to hear. However, I think it's unethical to not present good data and systematic research before providing recommendations. You can couch honest conclusions in your findings, but ultimately, other than out of legal or financial obligation, they're gonna do what they want to do. If you come to the emergency room and we think you're faking a stroke causing arm weakness, we raise up your arm and try to drop it on your face. It's known as the drop arm test. We also do the hover test if we think you're pretending to not be able to move your legs an hour, trying to purposefully push her leg down to the stretcher. I'm a server. No matter how much we insist it's okay, you are keeping the entire restaurant open after we've closed. Please know we are 100 lying. We will get fired if we deviate from anything other than pure delight that you are keeping us from going home. We dread it. Please don't believe us. Crisis lines are trained to validate anything. If you call and say your mom's abusive for asking you not to smoke in the house, they will validate those feelings. If you call and say all women should lose the vote and be slaves for men, they will have to validate your feelings about that law. Wild shit. Planned brakes in European cars, specifically Mercedes, but I'm sure Audi does the same. Basically, gearbox must brake by around 100,000 for example. They engineer cars making them to start braking more and more often by the time close to end of warranty. This forces people to sell and buy new car. 8. Their energy bills. So stop abusing them as individuals at fault for your high energy bill. You are most likely just abusing a 9-to-5 get-in and get-out employee who also has to between food or heating. Chinese restaurants are disgusting. They never spray for pests. Their health and safety standards are insanely low, and they never get anything fixed unless absolutely necessary. If you saw the backroom or kitchen of your favorite Chinese restaurant, you'd never return. Pretty much every single oil well in existence is powered by electric motors, when they could just as easily rig up combustion engines to power the pumps with the fuel they produce. The oil industry has known electric is a better option for at least a half a century now. Worked at a popular chain restaurant here in Canada. Our mashed potatoes were brought in frozen in bags, then boiled and portioned and put into small bags. When someone ordered them, they were put in the microwave before they went on the plate and went out. Your IT department gets alerts when you visit certain websites or search for certain terms. We can absolutely see your browsing history. We have our own copy stored outside of your device, and there's no amount of explaining you can do to justify it. Rage Against the Machine turned down a gig in Cuba because there was no pay. They also had no interest in Che Guevara when their shirt was designed. They also only wanted to free Tibet when they had a new album out. First-hand source. You remember all those expensive pieces of antique-like furniture with the beautiful finish and the stone tops? Yo, it's cheap pressboard that came out of a box and was assembled by high school kids in the back with a huge markup. When I worked at a magazine, products sent for review weren't reviewed. They were written about, but usually the writer never got their hands on the product to test it. The owners just stuck them on eBay for some quick cash. Your phone was not hacked. Terrorists and the government don't give a fuck about your information. You clicked on adware, malware, or a link that asked you to put in your login information. It's your fault. Accept that. A restaurant runs the floor mats from the kitchen through the dishwasher, way before they finish either dishes and glassware. Clean plates and glasses are a fallacy. It's an expensive restaurant. Eat at home, people. If you want to remain sane, never look up how much insect and rodent debris is allowed by the food safety authorities in your area. It's always a lot more than you would imagine and can never be stopped completely. When you eat at a Waffle House and want chili, ask a waitress if it is any good before you order. Sometimes it has been sitting way too long. The waitresses never seem to give a shit about telling you the truth. Wrongful burials than most people know. The funeral is the only business in the world to never have lowered its prices. Their current market up is around 7 to 10 times the actual cost of the product. There is a tea called duck shit oolong, which is really good. It's only grown in Phoenix Village, China. I heard it was named that way so nobody buys it. and the villagers could keep it all to themselves. ALL reality shows are scripted. There's no reality in any Love Island, Married at First Sight, anything else in that entertainment category. To lower your IQ, the more interesting you find them. All NFL games are choreographed like wrestling. Some weird things happen, but we know who's winning and who's losing. Just like wrestling, if we hit that hard for real, half the guys would die every game. In Australia, additional warranties are a rip-off. If a device or product can be reasonably expected to last 5 years without defect, then it can be held to that under warranty. Companies are fucked. The news about Boeing is not a surprise to me at all. The amount of resources that they are able to delegate in an effort to deter whistleblowers is unfathomable to the average American EU citizen. Not a secret. But you don't like most foods. You just like sugar. If it gets reformulated to add more sugar, more will be sold. Then it's just a slippery slope of integrity and honesty from there. I wrote an original movie a few years ago. Totally original. Totally my idea. When it finally aired on TV, it said based on a true story. Also, it wasn't Fargo. Data protection. Most companies misuse your personal data. Even the ones with a better grasp of the law and the data protection team are cutting lots of corners. Most of the IT or AV networks you interact with are just layers of the same simple concept. It makes it seem way more complex than it actually is. Wendy's chili is all the overcooked hamburger patties from the day before. Taco Bell meat comes pre-cooked and warms in a plastic bag in hot water. Used to work in animation. Those kids' shows ain't all rainbows. Some way to dark insider jokes. Bigger mess than fast food joints, I'd say.